Good. Yeah, I do think it is National Police Week as well. So we should,
Recording in
That
progress.
I didn't know.
I know.
Public Works and Police.
Good evening,
Same week.
and welcome to the Yarmouth Select Board for May 13th, 2025, at 5:15 PM here in the Yarmouth Town Hall Hearing Room at 1146 Route 28, South Yarmouth, Mass. 02664. For those of you who may be watching at home, please be advised that information is available on the town website on how you can Zoom. The Yarmouth Select Board will consider entering into executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property pertaining to Pump Station Number 2, as the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiation position of the public today. I would call... Okay. Okay, I'll take a voice vote on that to move to executive session. Mark?
Roll call vote. Mark
Yes.
Forrest votes aye.
Aye.
Tracy Post, aye.
Joyce, aye.
Lizardo, aye.
Dorcas McGurran, aye. We are now in an executive session. We will return at 6 PM. Thank you very much for your patience.
By a rehab or? This was the first, on the first area law, this is for affordable housing preservation, Ryan Road, 157,000. Who's that?
I have no idea.
Well, you should.
It says affordable housing preservation.
Good evening, everyone. We are now back in regular session. Would you like to join me, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to take items a little bit out of order on the agenda today. We're going to go down to board and committee actions. Liz?
Yes. We do have a resignation letter from Ellie Tierney. She is resigning from the Library Building Committee. She is also on
Conservation Commission?
Conservation Commission, and she wants to focus more fully on that. So that's a letter of resignation.
Move the resignation with thanks.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous.
And we have 2 alternates that we would like to appoint to the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have Timothy Scanlon, excuse me, who has been general counsel to a publicly traded manufacturing company. His experience covers legal, purchasing, finance, and operations. He also held several teaching positions and has his JD from New England School of Law and his BA from UMass Boston. He's now retired, living in South Yarmouth. He'd like to get involved and help make the community in which he lives and make the town a better place for all of its residents, business, and visitors. This will be for a 1-year term to run through January 2026.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous.
We have Richard Chwaztiak, who would also like to become an alternate on the Zoning Board of Appeals. Mr. Chwaztiak has his real estate license with Massachusetts, which was favorable to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and he is in the Rotary. He's currently the External Affairs Manager for the Cape Symphony. He received his undergraduate degree from the University of Florida and his master's from the New England Conservatory of Music. He wishes to get more involved and is a fan of history and old buildings, living in one on 6A. He has worked with Kathy Williams on the Route 6A improvements under the Department of Transportation. Also a 1-year term to run through January 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Okay. Upcoming agenda review. For our next agenda will be for June 3rd. One thing that Mark Smith, I believe, Tracy, did you want to mention about?
I'd like to put that on the
Yeah.
upcoming agenda. The school committee had voted on appointments to the school building committee, and we'd like to have a select person represented on there, so I'd like to put that on a future agenda to appoint. I'd like to do it, but for the board's discussion of who to appoint.
That's a great idea. Glad to see it, because when we were talking before, we weren't sure there was going to be board representation,
It
so it's,
wasn't on the original round.
right. So we're happy to see it.
And while
And-
we're talking about appointments and liaison, select board liaison, we have a public art committee that is being formed, and the charge does not include a select board liaison. So I asked Mr. Rittenauer how we wanted to proceed, and he asked me to ask you.
Well, I think that that's an advisory board, so most committees don't have select person.
I don't know, is that true?
Yeah, so what, ultimately, they would bring their recommendations to us.
Board.
So no select board liaison, just,
No.
okay. And are we not appointing these as, this will be advisory, so there's no need to swear them in and so on?
Oh, they still have to, they
They're
still have to.
appointed, they need to get reviewed and approved?
Right,
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
So that would be, that'll be under appointments for next time. There's also the request that we get on the agenda, or maybe it's just under appointments, board and committee actions. Joyce was on the Plastics Task Committee, and we decided amongst the two of us, because I was urging that we move on that, and she said, why don't you just go ahead and make some phone calls, that I take over as the select board person on the Plastic Task Committee.
That should
Yeah.
be another agenda item for us to discuss whether or
So
not.
that should go on the agenda for the.
I think because it's a much broader subject also, we definitely need to have that on the agenda.
That's just the.
Plastics.
Not just for
No, no,
appointments,
right.
though.
Okay,
But looking at their, looking at what their mission is.
Yes, so, all right, so first, though, the replacement of Joyce
Right.
by Liz, that will be on the agenda for the 3rd.
Right. And we'll also be adding the plastics.
We should,
I think we should have a
it
discussion
shouldn't just
about
be, yeah, it should be, we should put it on the agenda to have
Put the whole
discussion.
thing-
For us to recommend somebody, we
Right.
don't just pick,
But we did that.
we did
We
that
did
by,
that,
Do a
and we did it for
reorganization,
Joyce.
though, in
So I'm
June,
trying to,
right?
I'm trying to follow process, how,
okay. So
However you
I
we,
think you should just have it on because we actually have a election coming up next week, and there's going to be a lot of reorganization that will go on after that, so I would just put that on.
not as Liz, though.
No,
This-
no,
this
no,
board
just
should-
as plastics and the appointment of the liaison.
all right. So we will combine those then.
Right. And I know I'm not using the right word. What is it when we talk about the charge to the committee, about what they're supposed to be doing? I think we need to outline that as part of our discussion on June 3rd.
Yes.
There seems to be a little bit of confusion about that.
Now, also, and just so that this group knows, the Plastics Task Force, Task Committee, plans would like to come in front of you on June 3rd to be a part of that discussion.
I have no problem with that. Do any of the board members have a problem with the folks that have been selected so far to be
We've had
present for
one
that
meeting
discussion?
as well.
Seems to be good communication, open government.
I haven't seen the agenda for June 3rd, but,
We're just talking about adding it, Tracy.
I know, but I haven't looked at, what do we have on the agenda already?
We have the swearing in of elected officials, reorganization of the board, hearing special entertainment rituals. Tentatively, we have on a request for the use of town property by the lobster sales, and tentatively managing parks and buildings, and discussion of the next time set for the goal-setting workshop. I would say there's definitely space for it. Okay.
That's good.
And we've also, we're requested today to have a Matakees Utilization Committee update if there's room on the agenda for the 3rd.
Is it because they need the timeliness of the 3rd, or could they wait for June 24th, when we have ample time on the agenda?
I think they need to move it.
They need the timeliness, okay.
Yeah.
Then we'll make room for them.
Sure, and for a July meeting, I would love to ask director and staff from the Cape Media Center to come just give us a little summary of what they're up to.
Sounds like a good idea, we'll put that on the list.
Aren't you the liaison, Dorcas?
I am. Nice to get an update from them.
While we're talking about agenda updates, I looked at the agenda update that I believe is more recent. I beg your pardon, it's Pollen. And I saw that we review hiring practices may have been slipped off the list. Do you have that? Can you check on that, Bob?
What would you like to do with that?
Did we scratch it?
We took it off.
Very good.
Yeah.
It can come back anytime that you want to review the hiring practices.
One thing we did have that Joyce had brought up was, and then we kind of put it on hold because we were kind of waiting to see how the state was going to come out and changing the laws, was on the Appointments Committee, their task and their policies and procedures and updating that. You had
And I've been
originally...
working on that.
You have been working.
Yeah.
Would that be something that we can bring up, or do you need more time?
No, that would be fine. You mean June 3rd or June 24th?
June 24th.
Okay, sure, easily done.
Would that be called appointments?
Policies and procedures.
Okay, great.
Does anyone have any other items?
I know Arts Committee discussion is on the list, and we are in the process of bringing forward an Arts Committee, a public art committee.
Okay. Put that down for the 24th.
What's the ask, though? I'm sorry.
I think we have to form the committee.
I thought we did that already.
We
Just need,
It's, and I don't know what this refers to on the list, Arts Committee discussion. I don't know, maybe it's old.
We voted the charge.
Yeah, they have their charge, so all they have to do is just be appointed.
Okay, then we don't need that.
That can be under appointments.
Yep.
Okay, any other items regarding this? Okay, then what I'd like to do is to start back with the regularly scheduled agenda. And the first item that we have is announcements.
Madam Chair, I have an announcement about how people can access the Candidates Night Forum, but I'd like to make it at 6 or after, because people are going to be tuning in at home right at 6, if that's okay.
Sure.
I could make an announcement while we have the time to the people at home and the people in the audience. We have a public art committee, and we're looking for people to join. And we also need members, alternates for the Zoning Board of Appeals. The Energy Committee's looking for participants. And Historical Commission would also like to have somebody on it. So if anybody's willing to get involved, you can either fill out your form that's online showing your interest, or just let us know.
I see it's a little earlier than I thought it was. Actually, would I have anyone that would, why don't we take up the consent agenda? Do I have anyone to move the consent agenda?
I can move the consent agenda for approval.
hold on. It's at the end.
It's basically an Eversource license for the Water Resources Recovery Facility and the Yarmouth Police Department 5K road racing license.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So
I
moved.
moved it,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, she would, second.
I have a second. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, got 3 minutes.
A chance to get out and run around the building.
Not quite that. Does anyone else have any individual items that they'd like to bring up at this time?
Maybe Bob has some updates for us.
I do. Certainly, just by way of a few updates for the board, I wanted to make sure board members knew that we were following very closely the bids on the Housing Authority project on Forest Avenue, and the deadline occurred last week, and no bids were received on that project, so I think that gives some additional opportunity for feedback. I would say it's not entirely uncommon for some of these projects to, when you just put them out, to not get any bids. Yeah, I know when we work on projects, there's a fair amount of potential developers to come in and make a bid. So I think that in all likelihood, would be some of the activity that the Housing Authority would have to engage in. And I would just, bring it up. I wanted everyone to know. And I think it gives us an additional opportunity. I know that we had discussed it a little before, and I think all of us were a little disappointed that the critical issues that we had identified for the Housing Authority that were potential obstacles for the development of that site, which included, first and foremost, potential impacts on the public water supply wells in terms of both nitrogen and other emerging contaminants, was never really called out in any detail in the request for proposals. And also the issues associated with stormwater and groundwater management. That is a very high groundwater area. Homes have been impacted, and there wasn't anything specific that really called out the development of systems to manage stormwater for the project. And so I do think it potentially gives us an opportunity before this thing is advertised again, if that is what they choose to do, to have some additional communications with the Housing Authority. So I bring that up because I think it's something that we should be aware of and, maybe discuss in a future meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I
was.
don't know, do we need an executive session?
I don't know if it can. I would recommend that we just do it all in open session.
Yep.
Boom.
But,
And maybe invite the Housing Authority, something along those lines. I mean, it's that's where it is, and so maybe we can talk a little more about that with the chair. But I wanted to make sure people knew where it stood.
I'd like to
Do
put it
we
on
know-
for a discussion.
Sorry.
And I support that idea. I think Tracy's recommendation, Madam Chair.
I do too. I think that would be an item that hopefully we could bring up at our first July meeting. I think would
On
be a
the
good,
8th.
excellent time, July 8th. It should give it ample time to be able to invite the Housing Authority.
We shouldn't invite them right away, though. I don't think we should wait, because I think that it would be an unfortunate missed opportunity if they go down that road again without us having the opportunity to I mean, I think it's difficult, but I would like to see what we can do to exchange property in some manner.
I have a follow-up question for Bob, or actually for any of us.
Can we wait on this one? So what you're saying is that for that agenda item, it shouldn't be one where we're meeting with the Housing Authority?
I mean, that's why I didn't know if we wanted to go into executive session for us to come up with a strategy to make my personal opinion is that's the wrong site. So however we go forward,
And obviously, that's a very different discussion than that you could do that in executive session. Absolutely, if you wanted to
I'm
identify
not trying to hide
potential.
anything from the public. I just think as far as strategy from our position, I would love to meet with them, but I think that we should let them know as soon as possible that we have an interest in at least discussing the future before they go forward. But where we go from there, that's up to this board. I can only tell you my personal, that would be my opinion, that I would love to see us go in that direction.
My question is, do any of us know whether the addendum to the bid process was made? Remember, there was some discussion with our housing forum on the 22nd of last month that they could add these things about stormwater and one other item that was considered key. Then there was a discussion, and Liz had done it for CVEC contracts, so she knew that for the bidding process, you could do addendums to the
No,
offering. Do you know if they did that or not?
They did not addend to include our items.
Interesting to know. Thank you.
So the second item, I wanted to update the board, make sure just, everyone is aware that I did follow up with the direction of the board at the last meeting with respect to the lobster fisherman that was vending lobsters at his home and had a problem with the zoning, and all of the communications was established between that vendor and the planning board, and last week, the planning board conducted a meeting directly with them, and I'm told it was a very cordial meeting. I know it's been filmed, and you can, view it on the town's website, and they had developed some potential strategies to work towards some zoning amendments that may lead to the ability to conduct that type of sale in a residential zone that's not currently allowed under the town zoning. And I have discussed a couple of times with that vendor his experience with that, and I think it was a very positive experience. So my thanks very much go out to the planning board, the select board for encouraging the communications, and I think that issue is working through the normal zoning system, and at that meeting there was additional concerns raised for this current season, which obviously it takes to get to fall to design any zoning amendments and then have a town meeting to approve those. And I know that the vendor mentioned a short-term potential use of town property for lobster sales in the commercial zone on Route 28. And I just want to let board members know that I did outreach the lobsterman to confirm that he was interested in potentially using town property, and he indicated that he was, and he had suggested the town property that is located on Route 28 at Higgins Kroll Road, which is the former Chez Lenore property.
West Yarmouth Road.
West Yarmouth Road.
West Yarmouth.
West Yarmouth Road, yeah.
And so we've had those discussions. He's indicated a desire, and we do have a process that you fill out the town use form, and you just need to have a liability certificate and approval of the board. So the process is ongoing. Again, we've had some very positive discussions, and it's on your proposed agenda for the next meeting to enable him to do that use, which he'd like to try in June. And so I'll, with the board's approval, continue to work with him to get that application and have it in front of you. But
As expedited as possible. That'd be great.
Absolutely.
and thanks very much to the board for just making sure everyone got together and discussed it. We did talk about the plastics bylaw task force. I just want to mention, folks know that that did kick off last night. And I think it is a great example of an opportunity for the business community, all of the regulatory bodies, and the select board to get together and discuss. It's a major change for the town to eliminate all of the plastics, and so how we do that is going to be critically important. And I'm happy to see that it's going to go on the next agenda for a full discussion, and that members of the task force are going to be here, and that we can just hear what everybody says and come up with the best strategy moving forward. I just could not be more delighted to have that discussion in public, and hopefully we'll have a direction at that time that everyone is on board with. So. But I'm happy to see the discussions, I'm happy to see the collaboration, and just another example how we're kind of bringing members of the community that don't ordinarily all participate directly in these major things in front of the select board to hopefully develop these policy initiatives. When they have major impacts, it's good to just get everybody sort of lined up so we know what to expect. And so I think everyone will appreciate that discussion. So thanks to the board for that. And that's kind of the key updates I had for tonight.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Going back then to our item at 6 this evening, announcements. Joyce, you had an announcement?
Oh, yes, thank you. The Yarmouth Candidate Forum with the three candidates for the Select Board took place at Cape Media Center, and the League of Women Voters was presiding. There are several different ways that you can see this. One is that you can go to the town YouTube channel and you can enter Yarmouth Candidates Forum 2025, and then it will come right up on the video. If you don't put 2025, you'll get all the old candidates forums you might
we're not
ever
that
want to
old.
see. Some of which were, golden hits, some not.
025, I get it.
Then the second is, if you want to go a different way, you can go in through the Cape Media Center, and that's www.capemedia.org. And then you can go through their menu of choices, and it will come up. The third thing is, it's being rebroadcast over Channel 26, which is the Cape Media channel. But the town is also hosting rebroadcasts of it. And here's the thing, though, you don't have a clear sense of the schedule on that because it depends how long meetings run. So I'd suggest if you want to pursue it sooner rather than later, you think of the Cape Media Center route or the YouTube route.
Thank you, Joyce. And we open it now to public comments. Do we have anyone in the room that would like to make a public comment? Chris?
Yes. Good evening, Select Board. Chris George, resident. I'd like to make a public comment about the recent development of a statue at Fred Thatcher Playground. I would like to submit a request, or I'm here to encourage the Select Board to do what you can to rework the issue. I think the best outcome that I'm hoping for here is to have the statue moved to a different location. And some reasons for that are, well, overriding issue is that it best does not belong at the playground, which I believe should be reserved as a playground. And towards that end, the reason supporting that, the process of the Historic Commission getting people to come add their comment on the statue did not include any significant engagement from parents or children who were, or especially parents and children who use that playground, like myself. So there was not a lot of input from the people this affects most. That's the overriding one. I had some difficulties getting this kind of public. Well, first of all, it's difficult for parents and impossible for children to submit their comments on that. And I know a lot of other parents who aren't particularly happy about having a statue come to the playground, which has been a playground for decades, and are also parents who remember it as a playground. I think the most attention-getting one is the fact that there was a child lured behind the bathroom at Townhouse Park and molested last year. So parents I talked to who use the playground are not excited about the idea of any new occasions to be at a children's play area other than children playing there. So I'd like to consider that. And then I have another point, was that I tried to make comment, and at the town meeting where I tried to voice up on the amendment. At that point, having asked the Historic District Commission late in the game, these were difficult meetings to get to. One of them was announced on December 19th, and the meeting was January 8th, a notoriously difficult time for parents to get to or be interested in public affairs over the holidays. So I tried to voice up at the town meeting, and if you watch it, the amendment was badly botched. I was not able to make public comment, although 3 people were, and the vote was divided into 2 parts. One, where some yeas were heard prior to comment, and then they admitted 3 comments and took a nay. So I don't know if that was actually a vote, and you might consider that. So I think if you could help me bring this back to whatever power you have as the Select Board, who I believe approves the statute, if you could work it from that angle, that's great. I would also, whatever you have to do with this, return it to town meeting via petition, perhaps broken out of the other CPC fundings to its own project item, or letter D, if you were at the meeting. That would be one way to go. I think would be a little bit more, it would block funding, but maybe just moving the statue. So if you can do anything about that, have another public comment and decision on where it should be placed. I have a stance on it, and political breakouts and opinions from there. I've sent those in via Bob and to the Historic District Commission or the Historic Commission. I encourage you to read those, and we'll spare you at this moment from stumping. Thank you for your time. Please contact me if you have any, if I can be engaged with here. Thank you, Select Board.
Thank you, Chris. Do we have anyone else for public comment?
Hi, my name is Jerry O'Connell. I live in Yarmouthport. When I go around the town and I meet people, a lot of the people tell me that their property abuts conservation. And with the fire over at the place up in Yarmouthport over the last fall, that some people are concerned about the brush in the conservation area around their homes. Now, some folks have taken it upon themselves to cut the stuff, and some people are taking it to the dump. Some people are cleaning up some of the conservation areas around town. But some people have asked, is there some type of special, maybe the dump could allow them to just come in and dump it? Since it's not theirs, they really don't want to, some people just feel bad that they have to pay for it. It's coming out of the conservation. So is there something we can do to help people, to relieve them of dumping that, the cost of dumping it? It's coming out of conservation areas. They're really doing the town a service. And some people have done, they take pride in their yard and the property next to theirs. And in some cases, it's 2 or 3 homes that are really taking care of our land as a town. So is there something we can do to relieve them of the cost of disposing of that? Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Do we have any other public comment today? I don't see any on the board for anyone at home on Zoom. So we'll be moving on to our next item. We have an update today from our district attorney, Robert Galabois, who's with us. Welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Appreciate the opportunity. Apologies in advance to Select Board Member Mark Forrest, who heard my comments just a few days ago when I appeared before your County Commission. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to come before the board again. I've been doing this annually. This is my 3rd time now presenting to this board. Before I begin, I just want to, and I realize it's been several months, but I haven't appeared before the board since, offer my condolences on the passing of Attorney Michael Stone. Michael Stone was always very professional towards me when we were both practitioners, and certainly was professional towards me when I appeared before him in this particular board. So my condolences on that loss. I realize you have quite an agenda carrying you past 9 o'clock tonight. And so I will, and I understand that might be an early night for you. But, and I will add, I do this with every single town. I have 22, and I go before county boards. You definitely have perhaps the most engaging agenda across the district. I'll just offer that for the record. I do want to touch upon 5 topics. I'll keep it inside of 10 minutes, I promise. I wanted to lead off with a program that we launched about 6 or 7 weeks ago now. It's referred to as the CERT program, or Child Emergency Response Team. It is a collaborative effort between prosecutors and victim witness assistants in our office, as well, of course, law enforcement partners. The Department of Child and Family Services and Children's Cove, who I know all of you know, is located here in Yarmouth, conducts our forensic interviews and examinations. It is led by Courtney Scalise, who's the chief of our Child Protection Unit, and she has engaged a prosecutor and a victim witness assistant from each of our district courts across the district. Since its launch, again, 6 or 7 weeks ago, she's conducted 2 trainings, both trainings of which have had north of 60 people. So we're pretty excited that this is off to a pretty good start. We've had, I believe, 5 child victims since we launched it, between physical assaults and sexual assaults. It does allow us to try to provide services to the child and the child's family as quickly as possible, as well as try to allow us to fully investigate the case as quickly as possible. So we're feeling encouraged with the responses that we've had so far, and I'm looking forward to coming back here a year from now and updating you on this particular program. I wanted to speak for a moment about human trafficking, and I'm really not going to regurgitate what I've presented to the board previously, but I want to touch historically a little bit on this before I explain what we've been doing. last year I came before you and I said that we received a grant from the state for about $97,000, which allowed us to conduct a series of trainings, 2 here in Barnstable County, 1 in Nantucket, and 1 in Martha's Vineyard, for law enforcement partners, hospitality, and the transportation industry, as well as promote awareness to the issue of human trafficking. I offered that allowed us to present with credibility to the Office of Grants and Research when we came back saying we'd like another $100,000, this time for a statewide conference. They gave us the $100,000, and we just had our 2-day statewide conference on April 10th and April 11th of this year. We had 38 presenters from across the country arrive to present to 214 registrants for the 2-day conference. While we did have a nationwide panel, so to speak, of presenters, we also had a lot of local folks. Detective Katie Parachi from the Barnstable Police Department, she's kind of known as the guru or the queen of human trafficking investigations across the Cape. We had Sergeant Mark Sullivan and Dr. Abigail Judge from the Boston Police Department present. We had a team from the FBI, and all 5 members from the U.S. Attorney's Office Human Trafficking Unit came down and gave a presentation, and they were introduced by the U.S. Attorney herself, Leah Foley. So that was definitely encouraging. We had 2 members from the Office of Grants and Research also come for the 2-day conference. They were basically checking up on us to see how we would do. They said some nice things afterwards, and literally a couple hours ago this afternoon, we regrouped our human trafficking civilian task force to kind of, revisit. It was a debrief on how the conference went and kind of looking forward to what we might do next year, and the conversation is leaning towards hosting a New England-wide conference. So I'll certainly keep this board in the loop to see how we're doing there. I wanted to touch upon fentanyl for a second. You might remember when I came before you last time, I instituted a policy on literally day 1 of my administration in January 2023. Anyone charged in trafficking in fentanyl, my office was going to seek to hold them without bail. There's a very powerful statute that we can employ called the dangerousness statute. And essentially, when I speak of the drug traffickers in fentanyl, I'm talking about the business dealers, those that are pushing the poison for profit. And like any other business, they prepare for the rainy day. They prepare for when they're going to get charged, and they have that savings account to post a bail. Under the dangerousness statute, you don't get bail. You're held from the outset for the pendency of your case. We began moving for dangerousness on drug traffickers on day 1. Literally day 1 we had cases, or a case, and we got buy-in from the judges all across the district. We now have some interesting data to kind of look back to see how it's working. The data from calendar year 2023 indicated that non-fatal overdoses were down 10% across the district, and fatal overdoses were down 7%. Encouraging, of course. 2024 data came in. 2024 non-fatal overdoses were down 25% from 2023, and fatal overdoses were down 35% from 2023. Now, I have to recognize that the availability of Narcan is much greater now than it was when I first took office. That's absolutely a great thing. But also, too, I think you can draw a reasonable inference that this position that we're taking is having a good impact across the district. I wanted to briefly mention something regarding the Cape Cod Healthcare. Many of you might know they just opened a new building on their campus to treat cancer patients. Early last summer, it came to my attention that to get the permits to open up that new cancer patient tower, they needed to invest in stakeholders across the district. So I went back to my team and I said, hey, how can we try to tap into some grant money that might be out there? And we started having some conversations regarding CIMS, or Critical Incident Management Systems. It's a database that when there's an overdose experience, the responding officer goes back to the station and enters the information into this CIMS database. Yarmouth is a participant in this program. I believe it was launched in 2019. And we saw an opportunity perhaps to try to expand the CIMS database program in a couple of different ways. So this literally started on a napkin at a restaurant. I was at a local restaurant to where I live, and the CEO for Cape Cod Healthcare, Michael Loff, happens to live in the area. We saw each other. He happened to be with one of his senior VPs, and we started taking some notes. That napkin led to a 10-page single-space application or proposal to Cape Cod Healthcare. We had half dozen or so meetings with them. That led to meetings with the Department of Public Health, And after about 9 months, we were formally awarded $1 million to try to improve the SIMS database system. We have 2 areas where we're looking to improve it. As I speak to you, there are 14 out of 15 police departments on the Cape that participate. We want to, of course, reach that 15th department. We're looking to expand it to Dukes County or Martha's Vineyard, and we're also looking to expand it to Nantucket. We've already had preliminary conversations with the 6 police departments on Martha's Vineyard and the chief over on Nantucket, and they have an interest. It also, the database itself, as we look at it, has great potential, we think. We think we can expand it to include interpretive services. We think we can expand it to include housing opportunities, and we think we can expand it to perhaps consider wellness matters as well. So this is something that I'm truly excited about to come back next year, and I'm hopefully explaining to you how we've been able to expand it into other departments, as well as the nature of the information that we can put into this database. And finally, I wanted to touch upon elder fraud. Every single month, the detectives across the Cape have a monthly meeting. It's hosted by the Harwich Police Department. And I try to get to as many of the meetings as I can. For a long time, it was essentially discussions surrounding B&Es into cars, B&Es into seasonal homes, and B&Es into abandoned properties. Then again, late spring, early summer last year, I noticed a trend developing. Every single department going around the table, elder fraud, elder fraud, elder fraud, elder fraud. So last fall, I asked for some data. I asked for 2023 numbers and 2024 year-to-date, which was roughly October 1st. I happen to know the Barnstable numbers off the top of my head. In that time frame, Barnstable had 393 calls for elder fraud. 253 of those calls made their way into a report. 15 of those 253 led to charges against someone. So hovering around 5% or so. They just quite honestly don't have the resources, our police department, to absorb the number of calls that are coming in. So to that end, and I come with an ask, we put together a proposal for an increase in our budget. The total was $580,000. How we got there is we would like to hire 2 forensic examiners. We're thinking of CPAs towards the tail end of their career that have made their money in private sector and want to perhaps give back to public safety. We want to hire 2 prosecutors, and we want to hire 2 victim witness assistants to help work with our police departments to conduct the investigations and bring more cases. I have 21 signed letters of my 22 police chiefs supporting this initiative. I have 10 of my 20 counseling on aging supporting this initiative. I have our largest financial institution, local financial institution, Cape Cod 5, looking to support this initiative. I've been doing this, going around the district. I have Barnstable Town Council, the Town of Falmouth, and Barnstable County Commissioners have expressed an interest in supporting this initiative. So if this is something that the board would consider supporting, and I understand you can't do it tonight, I can get the information in particulars to your board through the chair for your next meeting if you were so inclined to take a vote on whether you wanted to support our initiative and perhaps write a letter to our Cape delegation.
It's actually the delegation's letter from January 13th to the legislature is in our packet.
It is. It's a letter that it should be to A&F. Do you see that at Accounting and Finance?
Secretary Guskoskich,
Yes. Yes.
dated January 13th, so the information is in there for us to be able to use. I would ask that we write that letter and put it on our consent agenda for our next,
Thank you.
I don't know. if
Great idea.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Can I just be reminded, what's the full weight, of what are you asking for in financing?
Please correct me if I'm wrong, since you have it in front. I think it's
It says the
580.
Cape-
In here,
I forgot the
$586,500.
6. I'm sorry.
It gives a lot of data in there as well that talks about, the district attorney's office has faced 33% smaller budget despite bringing 20% more cases. There's a lot of, and we have one of the highest elderly populations in the country. Our senior services director is behind you tonight, so she's listening.
Thank you.
But anything that, we're fortunate in our police department. I think Officer Gibney has been pretty much the point person, I believe, with working with elders and fraud, and she's amazing. But, these things take a lot of time. And if you had those resources, I think that it would be something that, the criminals, they just get smarter. It's crazy what they're able to do electronically. And, with AI now, with the voices and all the crazy stuff, people literally think it's their grandchildren calling. It's awful. So, I wholeheartedly support that.
Thank you. And I
We
will say
also-
for the record, the very first police chief to respond was Chief Lennon.
I'm
So I
I'm
just want
sure.
you to know that.
We also were able to thank some of our police officers for the wonderful job they did in a particular case of elder abuse, that elder fraud that we,
Phyllis.
The one
Right.
going to Worcester, is that the
Yes.
case? Yeah,
Yes.
that was incredible. That was terrific outreach by local PD, kind of informing the public of like what's going on by way of scams, the bank getting involved, saying, hey, we think something here is going on, bank communicating with police and them jumping right on it. That was a really, really good story.
hopefully we'll see a lot more of that proactive approach in the future.
We just went down to Florida to pick up one of the two defendants in that case. We went down last week. Not me, but one of my law enforcement partners. Yeah.
Was there any funding that was given to you based on the letter that the legislators wrote?
We struck out with the governor's budget, we struck out with the House budget, we initially struck out with the Senate Ways and Means budget. I've been advised that Senator Fernandez has submitted an amendment to the Senate budget. I'm waiting for the number, but I understand that is in. So now our hope is to put all these support letters in front of him and the Senate.
I can tell you from my previous experience as the director at Heatherwood, a senior living community where I worked for over 30 years, it was, we had to work with the FBI and some of our residents on a couple of cases that became that severe. And we had one resident who shall remain nameless, but was taken for over $50,000. And we couldn't convince her otherwise.
Yep.
It's horrible.
It is.
There's,
Anytime.
I always say there's a special place in hell, shall we say, for those that do this. We'd be
Special
happy to
place-
put
Special
this.
place in prison, too.
Yes, I'm glad to hear that.
You have the key.
We'll be glad to put it on the consent agenda.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Okay. Now we have some happy news to talk about. We're going to have a proclamation for the Public Works Appreciation Week, and I'd like to read that proclamation. Whereas Public Works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the town of Yarmouth, and whereas these infrastructures, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of Public Works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in town of Yarmouth to gain knowledge of and to maintain a progressive interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2025 marks the 65th Annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association, Canadian Public Works Association, be it now resolved, we, the Select Board for the town of Yarmouth, Mass., do hereby designate the week May 18th to May 24th, 2025 as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association, Canadian Public Works Association, and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life, given this 13th day of May, 2025. Thank you very much to Public Works. Jeff, perhaps you'd like to come up and accept this?
And Roby.
Is Roby here?
Yep.
I didn't see her in the background.
She
Come on up,
snuck in.
Roby. You have to have part of your A-team, Jeff.
Great.
Thank you.
One thing, Dorcas?
Please do.
We will, as we usually do every year, we will have a food collection for the Yarmouth Food Pantry at the disposal area. We'll fill a truck. We look at it as giving service back to our community, and it's one way that we can do that. So
When are you collecting?
it'll be the week that was just
May
listed
18th?
during that collection week.
Okay.
Public Works Week.
Celebration, Public Works celebrating giving back.
All right.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And we also have a proclamation on Jack Braggington Smith Day. Is Jack's family here with us?
Don't see
No,
anybody.
I'm here on behalf of the family,
Oh.
Madam Chair, to say a few words, if that's okay.
Sure, go right ahead.
So, before we get to the proclamation, I just want to talk a little bit about Jack. This month, on May 25th, we will celebrate the 100th year of his birthday. I think, as just about everybody in this town knows, Jack Braggington Smith was a very unique, colorful, iconic figure in our community. Some considered him to be the mayor of Yarmouthport. He owned the Sandy Pond Club. He obviously was famous for his ownership of Jack's Out Back. It was the only restaurant that had a sign out front that said, "Go away." Some might recall.
I recall.
Customers would come to have not only great food, but a few good laughs, and
And get your own coffee.
to get your own coffee and also get insulted.
Brown slip.
And I think at the end of every visit, the people that came there came out with a big smile. Everyone left with a smile. You know, Jack was many things. He was an entrepreneur, he was an artist, and he was a historian. But inside that crusty exterior was a man with a huge heart. He loved this community. He loved Yarmouthport. He loved the people of this community. And I think in so many ways, when we reflect on Jack's life, he enriched our lives. He truly did. And that's why I think today as a board, it's wonderful that we're coming together to remember Jack, to let him know how much we remember him and his service to this community, and why that we come together to designate and vote for May 25th to be Jack Braggington Smith Day in Yarmouth.
Thank you. And to that end, we have a proclamation, John Jack Braggington Smith Day. Whereas John Braggington Smith, known to all as Jack, who formerly ran the original legendary Jack's Out Back restaurant off Route 6A in Yarmouthport for 23 years with his partner Bob Edwards, allowing his devoted customers to write their own order slips, pour their own coffee, wipe down their own tables, and save their personal mugs on the restaurant shelf. Whereas Jack, who according to the Cape Cod Times Cheers and Jeers column, July 2005, in his younger days would preside over the Sandy Pond Club in the backwoods of Yarmouth, serving huge pots of spaghetti or his famous stuffed quahogs, and playing chess with whoever dared challenge him. Whereas Jack, who was part of a tightly knit community of unique characters, including artist-author Edward Gorey, Parnassus Book Service owner Ben Muse, and set designers Herbert Sen and Helen Pond, and who faithfully served the community in his capacity as village antiquarian, donating many historic town documents throughout his life in his beloved Yarmouthport, and did tirelessly volunteer his services to raise funds for the library and Friday Club with much good cheer and village camaraderie. Whereas Jack, who was known for his crotchety sense of humor and was considered the unofficial mayor of Yarmouthport. Therefore, the Yarmouth Select Board is honored to officially designate Jack's 100th birthday, the 25th of May, 2025, as Jack Braggington Smith Day. Congratulations, Jack. Sure that his family receives that
So, Madam Chair, I'd just like to officially move that we designate that day as Jack Braggington Smith Day.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That's a unanimous. I can hear him smiling.
And Madam Chair, I'd like to speak to the next item, if that's okay. Mm-hmm. This is the item on the vote and the discussion on a memorial bench. In your packet is some material submitted by Diana Braggington Smith, Jack's daughter. Diana has actually put forward an application to locate a bench on the Yarmouth Port Common. And the details of the bench that she is going to buy, that she will purchase, the details of the bench and the site, all that information is in our packet. I know there are probably some logistics and some details that have to get worked out with DPW. But I would like to move that we, as a board, approve the application, subject to whatever conditions that may be appropriate by town staff in terms of the siting of it, but everything seems to be in reasonably good shape. I think one of the items that was mentioned in the documents that we received was that the Old Kings Highway may have to review it. So there may be some reviews, there may be some other conditions that might be placed on it, but I think from our point of view in terms of giving approval, I think obviously subject to those sign-offs, I think we should give it the green light.
Do I have a second?
Second, subject to the reviews.
Okay, do we have any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Just on an aside, I used to have Herb and Helen and Jack to my house for dinner at night. I wish I had filmed them. I mean, I just sat back and listened to the three of them. They were unbelievable. Okay. Moving on to our next item, we have the second hearing for the fees update.
We don't have to read all this again, or you don't have to read all this again.
Oh, isn't that a lovely thought?
Oh, boy.
I mean, do we even need to, has there been any public input? The only changes I see are from the planning board. Maybe we just want to talk about these and see if there's any public input before we go into a whole, if there's nobody here from the public.
I don't see anyone with their hands up on Zoom. Do we have anyone in the public that would like to give any comment?
Can we just read what we've been handed that's changed? And other than that, we can just take it as a,
Okay, let me just read what has been handed to us as changed. Planning Board, approval not required, plan, eliminate fee categories highlighted in pink, preliminary plan of $250, less than or equal to 3 lots, then $75 each additional lot, and proposed was $550 for less than or equal to 3 lots, then $105 each additional lot. The cost to notify abutters, currently at $5 per abutter, included in, proposed is included in the permit fees, and the cost of legal advertisement currently is an actual cost, but the proposed is included in the permit fees. Subdivision rescission, I don't know why I have trouble with that in a word, currently $350 plus $175 per changed lot, and proposed was $550 plus $250 per changed lot. And
so those are being eliminated,
these are being eliminated,
potentially to come back at a further time.
and they'll come back at a further time.
Do we have any public comment?
No.
There's somebody on.
We do now. Tom Nicanello. You have to unmute
Yes,
yourself.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Good
Tom
evening.
McConnell from the very historic Bath River. Thank you all tonight for
Glad-
showing up and doing your due diligence. I just took a quick rundown on all the numbers, and I just wanted to point out that we were collecting about $6,000 in change for the fees, and that was current. And we're up to about $8,500 now with the proposed new fees and the fee updates. So that's about a 40% increase, and I just thought that would be important to know. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Tom. Do we have anyone else that has any comments? Anyone else in the room that has any comments? Hearing none, we will close the hearing.
Well, I guess my only concern is that it says 7:15 on the agenda. We had it continued to just this meeting, not a specific time, right? I just don't want to close it and take somebody's
That's right.
opportunity to speak away.
It wasn't continued to 7:15, it was continued to
Till 6 p.m.
sometime after 6 p.m.
Okay. If the board's comfortable with doing it now, or unless they want to wait till 7:15.
We could take things out of order, I suppose.
Can we just leave the hearing open and then?
Sure,
and
we'll
go-
leave it open and come back to it at 7:15.
Is that okay with everybody? Maybe we can do the licensing
can
one and
take
then
care
come
of,
back to
yeah,
it for a
the
final
restaurant.
vote in case anybody else has any comment.
And I'd be happy to turn the gavel over to Tracy for the next portion of the agenda.
Okay, let me get to the hearing notice. Okay.
Do you want the big
Town
one?
of Yarmouth Select Board, new alcohol licensing hearing. Yarmouth Select Board, acting as the local licensing authority, has received an application from One Hope Inc., doing business as Heavenly Restaurant. Leger Young, Leger, is it Leger or Leger? Leger Young, owner-manager for a new Section 12 restaurant on-premises alcohol license to sell and serve wine, malt, cordial beverages at 194 Route 28, West Yarmouth, Mass. 02673. The restaurant is one level with 2 dining rooms that have a combination of booths and tables. There are 2 bathrooms, 1 storage room, 1 kitchen, and an enclosed outdoor patio with 9 tables. The total square footage is 9,398 square foot. Hearing to be held Tuesday, May 13th, 2025, in the hearing room, 1146 Route 28, South Yarmouth, Mass. 02664. The Select Board meeting begins at 6 p.m. Written comments will be accepted until 4:30 Friday, May 9th, 2025, at the Select Board's office, or can be submitted electronically to public comment at yarmouth.ma.us. So now that that has been read into the record, we will open the public hearing, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Good evening, Madam Chair and board members. Let me come a little closer. Okay, so my name is Leger Young, representing Heavenly Restaurant, and we've been in business about 8 years now. I did apply for a license in 2019, and I was approved, but we didn't move forward with it. But I think it was a blessing in disguise, because 2020, it was COVID. So here I am again today, because we're currently planning on re-extending our operations into dinner again. And having the liquor license would not only be profitable to the business, but it would provide a lot more jobs in the community, because I would have 2 shifts. My regular breakfast and lunch shift that I have now, and then I'm planning on hiring more people for the evening. We're gonna go up to about 8, 9 o'clock, so it won't be too late, and yes, that's it.
Awesome.
Okay, so the hours that you're, I see on here, you're asking for are, even though you're open from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., you're asking for service from 8, was it 8 to, I don't see it outlined on here, so I think it's just a flat license for this.
I submitted a document with the hours. It's Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., and on Sunday, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And if you would just explain to the board what you plan on serving, how you plan on serving it, training your employees, managing that alcohol doesn't get into the hands of minors. If you've met with the police department already?
So the point of contact at the police department was on vacation. He came back, I think, May 31st. So he approved it with Amber, Thomas prior to going on vacation, but before I'm able to proceed, if I'm approved, I have to meet with him at some point, which I'm aware of.
So are you familiar with the town's rules and regulations that you really need to meet with him because we have very strict rules and regulations about what needs to happen. I see in here that you're tips trained.
Yes, I am.
You have a patio. Is there a request for any outdoor service on the patio, or was it for only indoors?
So there was a request for outdoor service.
Okay. And can you talk about how that patio is,
So it's on 28. It's close to so we have two entrance and exits. It's on 28. It's enclosed. It's a little enclosed area, and then we were able to use a tent over the years. So it's about 9 tables. It's paved off. It's really not a lot of seating out there, I'll say.
is it contained, or can
Yes.
people easily walk on and off the patio with their drinks?
So it is enclosed, but you are able to walk in if you're in the parking lot to walk in onto the patio, correct?
Okay, so one of the things that we as a board need to make sure of is that the alcohol that is served only to people that are over the age of 21 and not in the hands of minors. So, and that it's contained in your premises. So there has to be some type of management outside to make sure that that alcohol isn't being brought into the parking area, or so. You have to talk a little bit about how you plan on controlling that.
Absolutely. So first, my number one priority, like I said, I've lived here for 15 years, and I love being here. So I'm committed to responsible alcohol service. And you spoke earlier about speaking on like the tips training and my staff and so on, so I'm going to start from there. So I will be providing tip certification training for all my employees. I'm currently in the process of hiring people for the season because next weekend is Memorial Weekend. So I am looking for tip certified employees, and we are going to provide training for those who are not tip certified. And in starting, if anyone is not trained, I will continue to reinforce the carding policy, the cutoff policies, and teaching them how to look for alterations on like IDs, ensuring that the photo matches the person and so on, date of birth and so on and so forth. And also to let them know our refusal policy for people who are underage and or intoxicated, and having strict policies where we document everything. And there are 2 managers, Dave, who is the kitchen manager, myself, actually 3, and Applin. So everyone's gonna be on site. They know they can come and speak to us about anything. And my number one priority is also not only for my employees, but also for the community, because I do know our law enforcement officers, they work day in, day out to protect our community. So having that contained will ease the pressure of our law enforcement officers. Also, like I said, 3 managers. So usually in the summer, we have its section where we have outdoor servers. This year, we're gonna have a manager on the outside. It's not a huge patio, like I said, but we're gonna have someone on the outside managing, and then on the inside for both dining rooms. So someone who is in management will be on the outside at all times.
Okay, great. So you'll have a manager on site if
Yeah,
you,
oh,
if
yes,
you're not
more than
there.
one. Oh, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
And I noticed the abutters list is in here. I did not notice on the checklist that you have all the green cards.
Yes, I have all the green cards.
Okay, and did they, you have, those aren't green cards. You have an affidavit or,
These are the receipts.
right? Did you get the green cards back in the mail?
So no, I didn't receive anything in the mail.
Okay. All right. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we go to questions?
In closing, I would like to say, even though as a business, we are about maximizing profits and revenue, like I want to reiterate that my number one focus as a business as well is protecting my community. Like I said, I lived here 15 years. I love it here. And thank you so much for your time and consideration on this matter and allowing me the opportunity to be here this evening.
Okay, thank you.
So much.
Before we go to the board, we'll go to the public, if that's okay. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on this application, either for or against? Anybody on Zoom? Anybody at all? Nobody? Okay, we'll take questions from the board. Liz, do you have any questions?
I really don't have any questions. It's, sounds, the manager on the patio sounds key. I did read the menu and was, had a hard time finishing the menu because I wanted to go eat something. But I wish you the best of luck, and I'll be coming to visit.
Thank you so much.
Great. Joyce, do you have any questions?
Thank you. I don't. It sounds like a well-thought-out proposal. And again, the idea of the outdoor manager seems like a very proactive and wise step. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you so much.
Dorcas?
I don't have any questions. I'd like to thank you also for the outside manager. That's definitely very proactive. And like Liz, I've read the menu. I'll be coming just as soon as you're open.
Mark?
No, I just want to wish you well. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations on getting into business. We very much cherish our small businesses here in Yarmouth, and we wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
Excellent. With that, I will take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? I would recommend that the board approve the application as presented with the stipulation that you meet with the liaison, the alcohol liaison from the police department prior to service.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Good luck. We take this very serious. We hope not to see you back here with any violations.
Only at the restaurant.
See you at your place.
We'll see you at the restaurant.
Your restaurant.
So much
Thank
for
you
your
very much,
time.
and hope you have a wonderful season.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you so much.
I've got great memories about that place. When I was in kindergarten, my mom went to work for the first time. We only had one car. And we shared it. And when I was sick from school, she was a waitress at Heavenly. And when I was sick from school, I remember laying on the flour back in the stockroom. And the waitress that worked there would used to bring me sodas. Oh. So I used to pretend I was sick all the time.
That explains a lot.
Okay, moving on the agenda, we have the summer season program update, recreation. I see Steve in the back. It's that time of year again.
Time of the year.
It is.
Memorial Day is next weekend.
It is. And
Oh, my goodness.
we're opening. Good evening. So I'm Steve Reynolds, the Director of Recreation, and I'm here with Jack Judd. He's our new Assistant Director, and this is actually his second day, and I'm bringing him here. And let's see him in a
Welcome,
second.
Jack. Thank you.
Jack?
I'm happy
Get
to have
younger
him
all
here,
the time,
definitely.
don't we?
Still smiling. I like it.
He came back a second day, so I think we're doing well. So yeah, I've come to give you guys some summer updates, talk about staffing, talk about some programs we're running for this summer, and basically where we're at. So for Flax Pond, we're fully staffed. We have all of our counselors, junior counselors, directors. We have our health and safety supervisor, so we're in great shape for Flax Pond Summer Camp, and it'll be here right around the corner, starting next month, June 23rd. We have only 32 total spots left throughout the entire program. It's in your packets, I believe. I broke it down. Our pioneers, grades 1 and 2, for weeks 1 and 2, we only have 9 spots and 7 spots respectively left. We're full for our grades 3 and 4. We're full for our explorers, grades 7 and 8, and our quest seekers, grades 5 and 6. We have only 3 spots left in week 1, and in week 2 we have 13 spots left. So other than that, we're we're fully packed for camp and ready for the kids to be there. For lifeguards, again, we're also fully staffed for them. We're finishing up the hiring paperwork for the 6 new lifeguards that we've offered positions to, and the 4 new junior lifeguards we've offered positions to. Currently, right now, we're in the process of doing the swim evaluations at the Y. Our LGI has been doing the swim evals there, and then we're going to be in early June starting the training for the new guards.
What's an LGI?
It's a lifeguard instructor.
Oh, okay, thanks.
So she basically puts them through a swim test, able to swim the 300 yards, able to tread water for 2 minutes with their hands in the air, just using their legs, and then they have to dive down 10 feet for a brick. And then that's the basic swim eval, and then that's when we move forward with the hiring process and getting them trained to be a fully certified guard. And then for sailing, we're fully staffed with the exception of a launch tender operator. And the launch tender operator is who brings the kids from the dock to the sailboats, so we're still looking to fill that position. It's been posted, we're reaching out to different ship shops and different marinas looking to fill that position. But we're pretty confident we'll be able to fill that, and we've also have a backup plan on how to get the kids to the boat if we aren't able to fill it. So we're in good space there. We do have open spaces left in the sailing program for kids and adults to sign up for. It's not just for kids. Adults can come and do the instructional sail. They can do the racing. They're able to participate as well. If they don't want to commit to a full week of sailing, we do have the drop-ins that they can just drop in for a day of sailing instruction or racing as well. So gives people the opportunity, if they're not here for the full week, if they're only here for, say, a Monday and Tuesday, they can drop in those 2 days and fill up some of our empty spots. So that's our 3 major programs for the summer, but we have some other programs that we're running as well. This is actually our 2nd summer of doing a summer basketball program. Last year we did grades or ages 12 to 16, but this year, based on demand, we've increased the age range from 10 to 17. So now we have a girls division, a younger boys division, and an older co-ed division. So we're excited to have a 2nd season of that because it was really popular last season. And it builds on our winter basketball, which has been doing great so far. So why not have it winter and summer? Keep the kids engaged both seasons. We're also doing our indoor basketball clinics that were also popular last season. Those are filling up pretty quick. And we did a beginner and an intermediate clinic for this season. We did our open gym basketball utilizing Matakees. Once again, all these are going to be at Matakees. We'll be there. As always, we were there at least 5 days a week doing basketball, doing open gym, doing different programs within the school to utilize that to the best of our ability. So we'll be doing open gym basketball on Saturdays for youth and adults in 2 separate times. Our ever popular soccer on the beach we'll be doing again at Smugglers Beach, where we do pickup soccer games for ages 5 to 12. They get to Smugglers Beach and we have nets and the balls, and they take their shoes off and they're able to play soccer on the beach.
That's awesome.
It's always been really fun. Jack's going to be leading that this year.
Excited
so they'll
for
get to experience the fun in that. We're doing a multi-sport for toddlers because we've recognized there's not enough activities, at least through the recreation department, for toddlers. So we're doing a multi-sport for ages 2 to 7. So we're doing a toddler age group from 2 to 4, and then a big kid age group from 5 to 7. So it's basically going to just be introducing them to a different sport each week, whether it's t-ball, kickball. We could play tag. We have little mini golf, just a putting range, just exposing them to different sports, seeing what they like to do. And then that gives us a better idea, too, of if the group really likes a certain activity, then we can then offer that activity later on in the fall. We're doing, again, our Tai Chi by the Sea at Smugglers Beach. I know a lot of people enjoy that with Sensei John Marash. We're doing yoga at the beach at Seaview. That's going to be in the mornings from June all the way to August, from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. on Seaview. We're also doing our swim lessons, level 1 through 3 swim lessons for ages 4 to 12. We did it last year. We were doing 3 days a week, but we did drop it down to only 2 days a week, but it's a 3-week period, so we kept the same amount of classes. It's just not as big of a commitment to 3 days a week versus the 2. We noticed that a lot of people would sign up for the 3 days and only show up for 2. So we decided to keep the same amount of classes but drop down the commitment for the week. And that, one more, we have our summer painting series where we do step-by-step painting. At Matakees, we have an instructor who, basically, if you guys have gone to a paint night at bars and stuff like that, it's just step-by-step painting. We've just brought it to Matakees as a family-friendly version of it where they can bring their kids and adults do it together. So
And you're
it's a family
painting the
affair.
walls, so we get a fixing up Matakees at the same
Oh
time,
yeah,
right?
we're making murals there, yeah. But yeah, they get to bring home their painting that they've created together as a family. So that's been pretty popular so far too. And a couple things we don't have posted yet, but are in the works is our skating program. We've started a roller skating program with Skate Cape Cod.
Love it.
And it's been super popular. It filled immediately, and we were really surprised. So we've done more sessions, and in the spring we did it inside Matakees, and we're going to do it again, and maybe end up expanding it to roller derby. We've expanded it to adult fitness, skate, and dance.
They have a roller derby
Yeah.
group on the Cape.
Yeah, and it's a place to practice and get better at skating. And our instructor is super passionate about it, and she's buying more and more equipment. She's like, I'm so happy how this is expanded, and we are too. So we're going to continue to offer that.
Awesome.
So we have the dates for that, and we'll get that posted as soon as possible. We're also doing our Boost pickleball lessons. We'll do that at Flax Pond pickleball right after our membership group is there. And yeah, that's basically all we have. I actually didn't mention our pickleball membership group. I don't know how I forgot them.
How can you forget
450
pickleball?
member strong pickleball membership group. That's Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 at Flax Pond. So
Did you say 450?
450 members strong, and with a huge
Popular.
waiting list as
Yeah.
well. So there's definitely a need for pickleball in the summer here. So.
Is the junior lifeguard program working out well as a feeder for you to the lifeguards?
Yeah, it definitely is. We get a ton of junior guard applicants, and we've hired 4 junior guards this year. And the American Red Cross has actually expanded their age range, so now they can become fully certified guards at 15. While we're still keeping them as junior lifeguards and keeping them in that role of they're not the ones to give that first aid. They're not the first responders. They're still shadowing the guards, but we're going to have them certified and put them through the class so they know the basics. While not having to actually do it, they still get a season of shadowing. They'll have that in-person experience to walk through it, and that was the American Red Cross expanding it. So we utilize that to get them certified. So then next year they're ready to go right when they turn 16, ready to become a full-time lifeguard. And we've also done things to expand our junior lifeguard program. We talked with our lifeguard instructor. She's going to be putting together a plan for every Friday. They're going to do, after their morning workout, they're going to go with Susan, who's our lifeguard instructor, and she's going to have a course prepared for them each week on just different things that they'll see as lifeguards, and walk them through different events that could occur for an hour or two before they are assigned to their different beaches, just to kind of even expand and teach them a little more than just sitting and shadowing the lifeguards. Try to give them some extra training so they're even more prepared for when they become fully certified.
In years past, we've always had a great difficulty in filling our lifeguard slots. Are you finding that now with your junior lifeguard program that's making a little bit of a difference for you?
Yeah, I think it's not just that. I think it's just people and they just want to be lifeguards again. It ends up being a cool job again, and I think the testament is really to our current lifeguards. Is a lot of it's been word of mouth. Is, oh, my friend is really interested in becoming a lifeguard because I've told them how awesome it is. And it's amazing how many of those applicants we've gotten with their referral as one of our current guards. A lot of siblings are wanting to become lifeguards. Actually, 3 of our junior guards this year that we've hired are siblings of some of our current guards on staff. And funny enough, we actually have had some older siblings who have been in the job force. They're coming back to us now and guarding with us again this summer while they transition between different jobs. So it's been awesome. The turnaround on how hard it was to get guards just 2 years ago and where we're at now, where we're having to turn applications away. It's been really great.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it.
I know, me too. So.
How about your coverage, lifeguard coverage out there on the beaches? Is it going to be basically the same as it was last summer?
Yeah, it's going to be basically the exact same as it was last year. We'll be able to cover a majority of the south side. We'll be at Grays Beach. We'll be at Siegel Beach. And obviously we'll be at Flax during camp. Unfortunately, we won't be able to guard the ponds this season, like Flax Pond on the weekend, Sandy Pond, Dennis Pond, and Long Pond. We don't have the capacity to be able to afford to budget all those beaches. We could probably staff them. It's just a matter of budgeting to staff the major beaches. We think is important.
Those lifeguards do a tremendous job. I mean, each year we hear more stories of what they've encountered on the beaches and the lives that they've saved along the way.
Yeah, definitely. We're really proud of our staff, and we're proud of our supervisors on staff to be able to have that relationship and make sure everything runs smoothly. And myself and our beach supervisors always say, too, the best rescues is prevention, and I think they do an even better job at preventing a lot of rescues or potential rescues. Whether it's at Grays Beach, they know the tides. We make sure to do a tide update every morning. So especially at Grays Beach, knowing the tides when you see them out on the sandbars, when to call them in before the tide starts coming in quick, we think is really important. Same way that if they're getting close to the jetty at Bass River, make sure we're preventing them from even getting close to the jetty so we don't have to make that rescue. So that's our motto, is the best rescues are prevention. And that's kind of been the motto for our guards for a while now. So.
And Flax Pond, I mean, that program has just been extraordinary.
Yeah, it has, and I think last time I was here, I was raving about our camp directors there, Maria, Dan, the whole staff do an amazing job from preseason all the way until cleanup. They make it so easy for the recreation staff in administrative staff that they handle a lot of the stuff. They keep us informed with everything, and we're there more for support, and they run with it, and they do a terrific job, and I can't be happier with the staff that we have there year in and year out. So I really want to give a shout out to our Flax Pond staff from top to bottom.
And some of your staff, the counselors, are coming from having been participants in the program
Oh, definitely.
previously.
And I think our junior counselor program helps with that, is basically right when they age out of the camp, they're able to start becoming a junior counselor and getting paid to have fun at the camp instead of paying to go there. So I think, and then it gives them a sense of a summer job, making money, learning finances. It's just amazing. So.
For many of them, it's their very first job.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it builds a foundation for their future. So.
Well, you all do a tremendous job. Thank you. Are there any questions from any of the board?
No, I mean, I got a nice pair of roller skates for my 50th birthday. They actually light up, so I'd like to use them if you'd let me know.
You have it light up, so please sign up for it. We have the
can't
adult
wait.
fitness and learn to skate. So.
Looking forward to it.
Yes.
Any other questions for Steve? Welcome, Jack.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you on board.
I don't know who's happier. I think I might be a little happier. So before summer is awesome to have him in and get him acclimated before the craziness ensues. So
Best of luck for the season to come. Thank you
you.
so much for joining us tonight.
appreciate it.
you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Next item we have on the agenda, we have our new Director of Natural Resources. I see him in the back of the room there. Come on up.
He's missing his assistant, however, Jack, little guy.
This is, well,
Oh,
a little different.
no, your son.
Oh, that little guy. I thought you meant the little guy Anthony, Steve had. Yeah, Dave Condon, new Director of Natural Resources. Thank you again for that. And I'm joined tonight by Julian Mallett. He's the chair of the Waterways and Shellfish Advisory Committee. So we just have a quick update. I want to keep the board aware of a project that we're working on regarding the town ways to water. So this whole thing sort of started as a lot of town things do. No one really knew who was in charge of the town ways to water. They're not beaches, so it's not parks. They're not roads, so it's not DPW. They're not boat ramps, so they're not DNR. And I think the department heads kind of got together and said, well, maybe there should be a DNR thing. So here we are. And that our Town Ways to Water project. It's a project we're really just kicking off. It's going to be a multi-year thing. But the way it started is we went to CPC seeking funding for repairs and improvements to the Driftwood Lane stairway and town way to water on Fallons Pond. The stairs were really just falling apart, unsafe. We had to close them for a period of time because it was just unsafe. And we were like, well, maybe we should. We got just click it to go through.
Yeah, that clicks.
Thank you. So our plan was to try and seek funding to replace those stairs. We went to the CPC committee and they asked some really good questions. One of which was, well, how do you know that's the one that's in the worst shape? We're like, well, and that was again a great question. We knew it had issues, but we couldn't confidently say it was in the worst shape. So CPC kind of steered us back to do a town-wide assessment of all the town ways, which has snowballed into quite a project that I'm going to talk about just a little bit tonight. We're still in the beginning of it, but again, we'll talk it through, and I think you'll see that we're pretty excited about it. And just before I get too far, Driftwood, we did make some emergency repairs just to make it safe again, and it is open, but it's not totally done yet. So the question is, what is a town way to water? And that, again, that always comes back to that. It's not a beach, although a lot of people do use them to sit by the water, but it's not a place where you're going to find a lifeguard. You're not going to find a swim zone. The primary purpose is truly for accessing the water, whether that's getting to your boat on a mooring, whether it's launching a kayak, whether it's fishing, whether it's accessing a shellfish area. That is the point and purpose of a town way. And we're very lucky that there's a whole bunch in the town of Yarmouth. So again, like I said, it started as a project for CPC for repairing one area. They ended up funding this instead. And our plan is to identify every town way to water, assess the condition of each town way to water, and then come up with a plan for however many years going forward to address the needs and repairs that each site may or may not need. And again, you see on there we have over 60 sites, which is more than any of us thought we had. We did have an old map that we looked at, and I think that might have had 45 or something on it. And as we went through and tried to identify what we thought we actually had, we ended up over 60. This is a draft, so I don't really want to keep this screen up too long because it's not final yet, and there are some that may be removed. But this is just the northern half of town. It gives you an idea of how many we actually have. They're all over the place, freshwater, saltwater. And again, some are things that people may or may not know about, and I think that's something we need to change, and this is going to be a result of this project. Again, the south side of town, I mean, it's staggering how many there are. And some of these are truly a unimproved dead-end road that just stops at a couple of boulders, and then there's some sand in the water, and it might only be 40 feet wide. But then other ones are a boat ramp or, you know, a fishing pier or whatever. So they range from completely unimproved to some with structures and parking and buildings and all that. So here's the goal, and this is where, again, we're going to be working with the Waterways Committee. The goal is to identify the list of sites, and at the end of this project, we anticipate we're going to have almost a handbook where, working with the consultant that we've hired, Horsley Witten, we'll have almost a handbook where we can say, all right, well, we're going to do a project at whatever, Grove Street, whatever, and we're going to be able to flip open the book and say, all right, Grove Street meets the following requirements for permitting. If we're going to do nourishment or we're going to do whatever it is, some type of improvement, we'll know what permits we will and won't need to file just by looking at the handbook. We're going to end up with a interactive GIS-based map be hosted on the town website, which we currently don't have. And that'll be something that Horsley Witten will produce and then turn over to Town GIS when it's complete. And you'll be able to view the town, scroll in on each site, hover your mouse over each site, it'll give you the name and a little basic info, click on it and get a whole rundown of each site for what the public may or may not need to know about that particular location. And then the final report will include the top 3 priority sites for repairs in the future and limited engineering, limited plans for how that would look for whatever those 3 sites are. They'll identify what improvements we could do, and again, just limited engineering to go with that. Another major portion of it is determining legal access, which is turning into be a bit of a thing, more than we thought it would be. Again, some of these are documented as town parcels, like a Packet Landing. There's 2 town parcels. It's very clear the town owns it, clear boundaries. Others are these roads that truly just end at the water. There's no parcel associated with it. So part of the research that Horsley Witten is doing is they're doing deed research on each location, abutters deed research if they need to determine boundaries. And based on that, there will be some that we may remove because we don't have enough documentation to support their town-owned. But on the flip side, I know of one that I won't mention, but it has a split rail fence, says private property, no trespassing, and in my opinion, it's 100% town-owned. So you'll see my truck down there knocking that fence over once we have it on paper. But we're not there yet, but I know of at least one that I think we're going to get back. Again, so the main reason I'm here tonight is to talk about public input. Oh, I'm sorry, I can tell you where we are in the process. It's really just kicked off. We're doing bi-weekly meetings with Horsley Witten. We're developing field forms for what the site visits will look like, what information they're going to collect. They've done some legal access research and identified a few sites that, again, are questionable, but they're about halfway through the legal access summary on all 63, 64 sites. But the next step is our public meetings. So we're going to have 2 public meetings. The first one, well, 3 total, but 2 in the beginning. First one is May 29th. The second one is June 10th, and I have that info on a further slide. But I'm here to hopefully get the word out that we're going to have the meetings here in this room. We're going to set it up hybrid so people can view it online, but ideally they will interact with us and come to the meeting. We're going to kind of set up stations where if you have questions about freshwater access, you can talk to one of our staff members. If you have questions about saltwater access, you can talk to me. If you have questions about, whatever the other uses are, we'll have different stations where people can ask their questions. During the month of July, Horsley Witten and DNR staff will be out visiting these sites and completing these field forms to gather all the info of what uses we see out there currently, what improvements the sites do have, whether they have lined parking, and if they do they have parking signs? Are there rules and regulations? Are there fences? Are there structures? Are there dinghies? Are there all that stuff that they're inconsistent across the whole town? So the field assessments will be conducted over the summer. Horsley Witten will, again, compile all that into a report, and we should have it by the end of the year. And at that point, I'll be coming back to you all to present that. My plan will be, again, just to keep you guys, involved as we go forward. I'll be updating the Waterways Committee every month, but as we near the final stretch there, I'll come back when we're like 85 or 90% there and present to you a draft report, just so you guys understand where we are, and if there's any further input that you guys would like to have at that point, I'll make sure we can get it in before the project is complete. And then down on the bottom, it's kind of hard to see there, but the most important part of this, again, is the public input. So aside from the 2 public meetings we're having, there will also be a public survey, and that's going to be hosted online. It's going to be very quick. We're trying to keep it, for data tracking, we're trying to keep it multiple choice, right on through, and then there'll be an open response at the end for any questions or concerns for specific sites. But we'll be asking, how do you use the site currently? What do you wish was there? What shouldn't be there? What concerns are you currently having?
Is this up now?
It's not up yet. Okay. It will be up shortly. It'll be up before the first public meeting, which is the 29th.
Okay.
And it's going to remain open right on through the summer. So we're going to be pushing this out on our social media. I'll ask the town to share on the town social media. We're going to send it out to our 600 and some odd mooring customers and slip customers to get the word out that way. And again, I'm here tonight hoping to get the word out to the public as well. So we'll gather all the data via the survey and compile that at the end. Again, like I said, the 2 public meetings are the 29th and the 10th. 2 different options, and again, we're hoping that people really turn out for it, and we'll have iPads and stuff here for people that want to complete the survey while they're here on site, and if not, we will probably have a few paper forms that we can input after the fact, so all the data's in one place. And again, like I gave an example of what comments we may or may not get: no parking, no signs, overgrown, whatever the question or concern may be. Some examples of what we're looking for. Great. That is mostly the presentation. And just if I can touch briefly on the Waterways Committee's input. So Julie and I have spoken quite a bit about this and the plan that we've talked about, and talking with Bill Scott. The Waterways Committee will kind of be the lead public liaison or whatever with Natural Resources staff. And we also are going to compile another small group, kind of like a steering committee, if you will, or a navigating committee, since they are water-based. Probably a couple people from the Conservation Commission. We'll have town engineering, and then we have 2 volunteers to be our day-to-day liaisons from the Waterways Committee. It'll kind of be our, again, navigating committee as we go through this, reporting back to Waterways, and obviously ultimately to the Select Board as we make progress. So any questions or concerns about the plan? Again, it's something we're really excited about. I think it's going to turn out awesome, and I'm curious if you guys have any thoughts.
Mark?
Yes, thank you, and thank you for the presentation. This is an incredibly important project for the town, so I want to commend you for the amount of energy and time that you're all putting into it. This also happens to be an endeavor that tends to fall through the cracks in many other communities. Having worked in many myself, this is often something that usually falls at the bottom of the list of things to do, but it's long overdue here. I mean, the reality is that as a select board, we're responsible for public property, and if there's one area of public property where we need to do a better job, it's here. There are other areas that are in need of improvement, but this is one that's incredibly important. And there's been historically a tradition that goes back to the colonial days, where public access to the water and preserving that access and maintaining the public's access to water is one of the fundamental responsibilities of government. But in recent years, it often sort of falls down the priority list, and in some cases, you'll find people putting up fences, like you've seen, right? There'll be other things that are done that basically discourage access or restrict access. So we have an important job to fulfill here as the town government, and that is to protect the public's rights of access to all of these waters where we do have townways. Now, where we have our beaches, where we have the other more established access points, we do a reasonably good job on those. But it's these areas, typically the roadway or the pathway, that need to be protected, and we need to be vigilant about it. So I think this board's going to be very interested in your recommendations and the things that we need to do to stay on top of this going forward. As you're aware, we have the challenge of maintaining. It's going to be a topic of conversation that we have as a board in the coming weeks and months, and that is how do we do a better job in caring for our public properties, and this should be part of that conversation. We may not be ready for it, but we need to add this into the whole conversation because it does require staff. It does require work, and we need to elevate it as a function of management as well. Because typically, when a complaint comes in or an issue comes up, like I said, these things tend to fall at the bottom of the priority list. So I'm glad you're diving into this. I'm glad you're getting the support, and kudos to the Waterways Committee for taking an active role and assisting you in this, because it's a big job. And for me as a board member here, I want us to hear from you and update us. And I'm glad that you're making plans to come back to update us and keep us posted, because this is an incredible priority that needs attention, and I appreciate the fact that you're giving it attention. So thank you.
Thank you for that.
Tracy?
Yes, this is great. Thank you very much. I lived near Driftwood and walked down there and watched it basically deteriorate to the point where you couldn't use it. But I think most of us live on the Cape because we want to be close to the water. And, having a map for people to be able to see those places is going to be great. I would love to see also like a legend on the map with what you're able to do there, whether it's launch a kayak, just walk, whatever. But it would be great for the public to be able to have that. I'm excited to watch you move forward. I'm wondering, with your outreach, there are people who become very protective of what they believe is their land, and it would be nice if we could outreach specifically to some of the people that are close to these access points to potentially come to your meetings. I think education is a huge piece of what you're going to end up doing, because I go to the beach in the summertime, and we have a particular beach on the south side that is private, and I put my chair in the water, and I was told to leave, and I was like, I don't think so. This is not your property, and they were hired by the landowners to keep anybody in front of that off. So, I felt bad for the kid, but I said to him, I'm in the water, I'm below the mean low tide, and this is public. But it's the same thing with the fence, right? We had this discussion and I was trying to rack my brain. It was something about South Shore Drive some time back when we were years ago in the planning board talking about redeveloping, and I believe it was putting those three pieces together. There was something in the middle that there was an argument about. The neighborhood believed that they had the access to the water, so if they put those three Davenport hotels at the time together, so there was quite a discussion about rights at that point in time, back then, before the plans for redevelopment down on South Shore Drive were approved. And people are very protective of their space on both sides. So you got your work cut out for you, but I think the process of finding out and delineating it and just educating people is extremely important. So I'm looking forward for you to have the process. One of the things that might be helpful too is in some of these spots they have obviously signage there, but a QR code that will bring them right to your survey, maybe in the interim. So if somebody goes there and they can click on a QR code and it brings them to the survey, like, what do you think about this spot? and then just have the QR code there. So anybody who's frequenting those places can talk to you or answer some questions about how they feel about it.
That's great. Thank you.
Good luck.
Joyce?
Oh, thank you. I was curious what you said about parking. Do you see any way that the select board can be of assistance with parking? Because if so, I would love to hear that when you do come back, because it does seem that that's an obstacle that might keep a number of people away from these delightful little passages down to the water.
Right, I think that's something we're going to find out is, and again, a lot of these townways, they are truly unimproved, dead end, no signs, or maybe a sign that says Town Way, but no any other parking signs, no lines. What side do I park on? How close can I be to this person's driveway? There's a lot of hurdles there. And yes, I think that we're going to come into some issues with that, and I'm sure we'll look for support at that point as we identify which ones are in the worst shape for parking.
Oh, thank you both for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Liz?
I live right, the first picture, the Fallins Pond Road. And we had a meeting at my house, and one person who didn't show up finally called, and she said, I'm in the water. She drove down Fallins Pond Road into the water. And there's a place where there's a big pothole below the high tide line, so she couldn't get out. So we had the Yarmouth police came and got her out. But yeah, so we might need to do a little work there. But and I do worry a little bit though. Well, trash cans. I think that if we're going to make these wonderful little jewels more accessible and more transparent, because I walk that and collect so much trash off the beach, and then I have to bring it home because there's no place to bring it anywhere. But I last comment is that this really seems to jive with the local comprehensive plan that was presented to us at our last board meeting, where the walking trails are being they're going to be mapped and kind of called out in order to make us more of a go-to place, a destination. And so it seems like this and that are hand in hand. And hopefully, if there is a walking trail that ends up in one of your ways, that will be made clear too. So wonderful. This is great.
Pretty much everything I would have said has already been said.
We took her thunder. It's tough to be chair.
But I just want to reach out to the Community Preservation Committee, because they seem to have gotten the ball rolling right from the beginning, so thank you to them. And also, thank you for when you're going to do this. You're talking about peak occupancy time here on the Cape, when this survey is going to be done. We're not doing it in January or February. And kudos for doing that as well. And I look forward to seeing what you have when you come back.
Yeah.
And thank you for your participation and volunteering as well.
Welcome.
Is there anything that you would like to say?
No, I don't think there's anything particularly to add, but, we have seen, I saw an instance just today, but in Dennis, where someone is putting plantings on one of the access ways. These kinds of things happen all the time if you're not watching.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Madam Chair, just to your point about the CPC, they were great, and they were upfront saying, look, we don't typically like funding assessments or studies, but in this case, they said it was such a slam dunk for the long-term goal of, again, identifying any issues and concerns and giving us a real foundation for coming back down the road for funding for other projects related to this. This really is the only starting point that makes sense, and again, kudos to them for that.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, returning to our fee increase hearing. I want to give anyone an opportunity, if they have not had a chance before to speak to the fee increase, that this is their opportunity. Do we have anyone in the room that would like to speak? Do we have anyone on Zoom that would like to speak? I don't see anyone on Zoom, and I don't see anyone in the room.
Madam Chair, I move that we close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's a unanimous. Thank you all very much.
Wait a minute, you closed the public hearing, you didn't vote on the...
I'm sorry, voting. Do I have a motion to approve the fees as presented?
So moved.
Second.
I'm just going to reiterate this one more time to Tom Nicanello's point. I think we we need to carve out in our agenda an annual review, because 40% is steep, and I think we should be, not waiting as long in between. I think, it's easier for us to justify the increases because it's been so long and some of these fees are so old. But in the future, it would be nice to, we used to have a policy, well, especially like with golf. Golf, we have a policy, you can't increase more than 5%. Everybody should, every town department should be like that. We should do our best to stay within, a smaller percentage, which means obviously looking at it more often. So I support these this time, but I'm not, I don't think anybody's jazzed about raising fees the way that this is. It shouldn't be an annual occurrence.
I agree with you on that, and as I mentioned before, I think that January, the start of a new year, should be when we're reviewing these, because particularly when it comes to what potentially may be there as far as the beach stickers are concerned and the dump stickers, I think we need to give people an opportunity to speak, and we also need to give them an opportunity to get ready for it, if there is.
So I think we should direct Bob that every January, we do a full review.
Are there any other comments? Hearing none? All those in favor of approving I'll entertain a motion to accept the fees as proposed. Did I get one? I'm sorry, I did, and I got a second, didn't I? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimous. Thank you all very much. I do not see any other items that we have this evening on the agenda.
Chair, I'd like to move to adjourn our meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I did disbelief. 7:40. I thought we were going to be here a while.
All in favor of
You can vote
adjournment?
against the motion.
All in favor of adjournment? Aye. Any opposed? That's a unanimous, too. Thank you all. And one last thing, just a reminder that there is a town election on Tuesday, which is May 20th. It will be held at our local polling locations, and that in addition to selection of 2 of the seats for the Board of Selectmen, we also have a proposed 2.5 override for the fire department. So I think,
Non-binding and a non-binding question about Holtec.
and a non-binding question about
School
Holtec.
committee member, even though it's unopposed.
Yeah, one school.
School committee
Housing-
unopposed.
Housing authority and school committee.
Unopposed. So I really encourage everyone, this is your opportunity to go out and vote, so please join us. Thank you very much, and good evening.